Since the dawn of time, humanity has sought answers. Through whispers of the stars, the dance of the cards, and the shadows of intuition. Few possess the gift to peer beyond the veil, to see the unseen, and to illuminate the truths buried in mystery. Across the ages, the art of divination has guided the lost, unraveled secrets and brought clarity to the chaos of existence. But in life, there is always a choice, a crossroads between fact and fiction, truth and illusion. It is up to each of us to decide which path we will walk. And now, we have reached this moment, a place where mystery
and truth converge, where intuition meets investigation. Welcome to Seeing Crime. I am Lady Zelda. Let us begin. Hello, everybody. Hi. You know, I'm always so happy to be here with everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome. And thank you for being here. This is a time of year where everyone is just so busy. And, it's just hard to make time to come in. But since you are here, it is December the 14th of 2024. We have just a few little days left until 2025. Hurrah, goodbye, this 2024, hello, 2025. I'm done. But I'm also Lady Zelda, aka Chloe's spirit mama. And tonight I want to talk about a few things that have happened this week and actually today. It has been a wild week. But before we begin, I want to show you a very important announcement, and that is for tomorrow. Are you ready? We've been talking about this for I don't know how long, and tomorrow is the last day of Mercury retrograde. Hallelujah. Now you may just feel a little on the, I don't know, like you got a lampshade over your heads type thing. That's normal. You've got the Mercury retrograde hangover. You'll only have that for a couple of days and then boom, hola, we're back in business again. Hello. But you're still going to have to follow up on phone calls and emails and texts. And don't feel bad if somebody hasn't responded to your email or your text, because sometimes that just happens. And if your ex has come back, start checking to see how long, and I hate to say that, but exes come back during Mercury retrograde. Hello and welcome. Yes, I'm ready, just in time to get Christmas through and get ready for the new year. Hello, Marie. She's in the chat under Crime Time with True Oracle. You see her with a little wrench. She's our mod for tonight, and thank you very much for being here, Marie. And I have a special show for you. But before we begin, I want to share with you a little holiday special. You can get 3 questions in a personalized video reading with me for $25. It's usually 2 questions. Now you can get 3. Order today. I'm getting booked up. So there you go. And this special ends January 1st of 2025. So get your order in. If you want to give it as a gift, you can do that as well. And for those of you who've had a reading with me, I email you a link that is just for you only, unlisted, and it is for you, personalized forever and ever. You can share, keep, and whatever. And there you go. So thank you very much for that. And if you have a question about ordering, let me take you over there just to see how that is. And here we go. You can see this is the site for True Oracle. You see it right there. This is where you order your holiday readings or your readings for any time. But what you do, my darlings, is you go here, you fill out the form. You see that name, birthday, and then you choose your reading, and then you put your questions down. So you can do number 1, my question, number 2, my question, and now number 3, if you want to get the holiday special, and there's a little spot there for you to check. So submit that, and then you come down here and you pay for your reading. And while you're there, take a look at the tarot journals. You can see the Seeing Crime Tarot Lab journals and the Cartomancy printable guides and tarot printable guide. If you want to learn cards, that's the way to do it. And those are written by me. So now we have all that out of the way. Welcome, welcome. Now we are on our way to 7,000 subscribers. And I want to get there so I can give you guys the 2 Kipper decks. 2 lucky people are going to win a Kipper deck, and that's going to be what these are, the Kipper decks, just like I use. I checked them out. I actually opened the box. I did not use them. They are in order. They look good. I just wanted to make sure that you had a good deck of cards. The other thing that I will be giving away when we get to 7,000 subscribers is a video reading with me, 2 questions, and there we go. Now we got all that out of the way. This week, my darlings, we've had a minute. I mean, Daniel Penny was acquitted this week. Did you think that he was going to be acquitted? I knew he would be, but that was tense. That was intense. And did you see that who he went to the Army-Navy game with today? Love it. Love it. It's because he is a hero. He saved people on that subway. And I hope they look into the DAs in New York that brought these charges. It was a ridiculous trial. That's right, TD. Ridiculous, ridiculous. Absolutely. Hi, Jerry. Yes, he was with Trump fans today in their box. Imagine. Imagine. He deserves that. Now, the latest thing that I've heard is that he and his attorney team are considering bringing charges for malicious prosecution against the Manhattan DA's office. And looky here, we have Karen. Hello, yippee, I made it. Saturday Night Live with Zelda. Hello, this is Saturday Night Live. You may know Saturday Night Live from another show. This isn't quite like that. I'm not Rosanna Dana, but I'm doing my best. All right, so we have that. Now, before we get started, I do have to say a disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. We leave that to our beautiful legal beagles out there that have those law channels. Thank God for them. I'm not law enforcement. I wouldn't want to be these days. Thank God for them. I'm not a fire professional. I am not EMT. Thank God for those people. I am a tarot profiler, and this is for entertainment purposes only. So I don't really know anything. I just lay out tarot cards and I have an opinion, and I like to share it with you. So with that being said, there's some other little things that have happened this week, and that is Karen had her Daubert, whoever wants to say it, whichever way is correct, motion hearing with Hanky Panky, Lolly, and Dr. Marie Russell. I'm going to tell you, watching Dr. Russell And hearing her, I'm just going to say this wonderful resume, this CV that she has, it kind of makes you feel like a schmuck. Like, gee, have I been wasting a lot of time? Gosh, that's just, gee, yeah, I just kind of wonder that. Hydrate, everybody. And bless her. She was very well prepared. And I'm going to tell you one thing that made me angry. But before I'm going to tell you, please subscribe so you can come in here and chat with us because we really love you. We want you to. And do me a favor and click the like button. It's important. Is when Hanky basically implied that she was not telling the truth. Did you? I mean, it took her back. She was like, she literally gasped. Now that's ridiculous to bully somebody like that. His old colony Southie accent snarky bit that he does, pardon me, that's my opinion. So I've got an opinion too, Hank. Here's my opinion. I will give it to you. You're so concerned about this beautifully educated doctor who has given her life, and hello, looky here who we have with her beautiful little hairdo. Hello, Tamika. Hello. And hello to each and every one of you. Hi there, Standing Stones. I love it. Hello. And Auntie BB, Auntie Bev, I'm sure is watching. And so anyway, here is my little message to you, Hanky Panky. You're so concerned about Dr. Russell being educated as an orthopedic surgeon. Well, I got news for you. She is a forensic pathologist. Here's the other news. There's a difference between being a forensic pathologist and a pathological liar. What do you think of that? If you don't know the definition of that, for anybody who is watching from the bad actors, you may want to look it up. A pathological liar is someone who has told a lie and believes it so much that they create the reality. I think I would be more concerned about the pathological liars in this particular case than I would be if Dr. Russell is an orthopedic specialist. She is an emergency specialist. They have to know all areas so they can diagnose. And besides, she was not the attending physician. And may I remind you, Hanky, while we're talking, the ME who did the autopsy for Officer John still did not mark this as a homicide. So you need to just kind of calm down there, because I got news for you. If there is another trial coming around the corner, first of all, I still wonder. March, mark your calendars. March will be significant. I don't know why, but March is going to be a very significant month. Just like December is. We've been seeing a lot of things, a lot of arrests, a lot of everything else in the month of December. But going forward, if there is another trial, you you better buckle your seatbelt there, CW. In my opinion, this nice man, Attorney Robert Alessi, who is very considerate and kind, will rip these so-called experts that you have probably to shreds, metaphorically speaking, obviously, in a very nice way. He will be able to tell these people to go to the hot place, and they'll look forward to it and probably enjoy the trip. So this is going to be very interesting, and it's extremely nerve-wracking to these people. You know, that's right, standing stones. March comes in like a lion and out like a lamb. And I was born on the Ides of March. I knew about the Ides of March before I knew my birthday, of all things. I knew all about the Ides of March when I was growing up. But this is going to be interesting. And for those of you who are scared for Karen, don't be scared. She's going to be acquitted. Don't be scared. I don't even know how they're going to find a jury for this, to be frank. They'll find one, but it's going to be very hard because the city of Canton and Dedham and Stoughton and Boston and all of these different places melded together are sick of this. But I'll tell you what more they're sick of. Yes, my dear. I'll tell you what more they're sick of. They are sick of the corruption in these areas. Ah. Now, who handles that? Oh, it must be Attorney Robert Alessi, who, Section 1983, and a RICO lawyer. Isn't that amazing? Now, I saw Josh Levy this morning. Now, listen, we didn't have coffee or breakfast. But earlier this morning, he gave a little press conference, but it wasn't anything about this. It was a press conference about a D-rug. Now I'm going to talk in a few little code. So if you want to talk in code, you can do that in the chat, please. So he was talking about a little D-rug ring, but it was connected to Big Pharma. And what was it connected to? It was connected to a marketing company called Mackenzie's Marketing. And what did they do? Well, they just found out that they were being investigated, so they wiped some servers clean. So they hid evidence. They swept it under the rug. And you know what they got them for? Not only obstruction of justice, but hiding evidence. So, for the DA, Mr. Meatball Morrissey, in my opinion, there you go, my darling. You can start wiping out the back of your pants. Because from what you have done and what we know that you have done using private servers, using all of these little things that you have done, is not really that well received by the AG of Massachusetts, because he will bust you. And this won't be the only thing, and it won't be the only person, because this is a crime, and it is just a matter of time. Sooner or later, the feds are gonna get you. Sooner or later, feds are gonna get you. Sooner or later, feds are gonna get you. Yeah. So you know what, buddy? Let that sink in. Because it is a matter of time. It is a matter of time. Dee Dee has a question. Oh my God, doesn't he know they can follow him electronically? My darling, they have been for a while now. And all of these things, all of these letters, and him writing up to Josh Levy and saying, oh, you can go away now. And Josh Levy writing back, paraphrasing now, saying, no, that's okay, thanks. Then we have the hostage type video. In my opinion, I'm going to give you my opinion. It doesn't mean anything. It's just my opinion. I'm going to frame it maybe in some questions. And the questions would be, why do you think Hank Brennan was brought in other than no other ADA wanting to take the Karen Reed case? Let's see. Hank Brennan discovered corruption in law enforcement. Do you think that, could it possibly be that D.A. Morrissey wanted Hank Brennan to come in to see, to discover, to find out what was going on with him? Maybe behind the scenes, you know. Maybe give him a little advice for using private servers and contacting witnesses. And Ted Russell with Channel 10, who you've been probably the most truthful reporter from the legacy media reporting on this. I sent you a message and you ignored it. Why aren't you, Ted Russell, why aren't you reporting on this? Huh? I can't hear you. What? So now we have Boston 25 and Boston 10, I guess, are the call. I'm not sure, but those media outlets, I'm going to say that, are off the hook as far as turning in all of their media and text messages and emails and everything else of interviews and everything else with Karen Reed. But Gretchen Voss is on the hook. What do you think of that? And I can tell you this. Hank Brennan will try to make mincemeat out of that lady. And she has been threatened and everything else. What do you think is going to happen after she testifies, if it gets that far? What do you think is going to happen? What? Talk about I would be very intimidated, quite frankly, because you're going to have, you saw who was sitting in the audience in the courtroom on the 12th. Was Paul O'Keefe sitting there right in the front row. And every time somebody would walk through, he would give him the hairy eyeball, the evil eye. He would give them the evil eye. Hey, Paul, it's my understanding, supposedly, allegedly, you got a few problems of your own, buddy. Do you think you need to be giving somebody the hairy eyeball? It stinks. The whole thing stinks. And we all know it. We all see it. And you know what? If we see it, guess who else does? Our friend, attorney Joshua Levy, pardon me. Cheers, Josh. So, with that being said, what do you think is going to happen now? Because I'm going to tell you, in a mess like this, because it is a mess. And here's the truth and trash part of it. Anytime you see guilty people, they strive to make situations look as though they are innocent. In my opinion, and you know what they say about opinions, in my opinion, if we see it, our friend attorney Josh Levy sees it as well. In fact, he's been seeing it a lot longer than what we have. On average, these investigations with the feds take, I don't know, 3-4 years. They could actually take longer, but I don't think so. I think we're really going to start seeing some action right after the first of the year. Now, we may see a few little things before Christmas because I want you to know that's what they do. They like to make arrests. They like to do things right before Christmas because it's not only upsetting to them, it's upsetting to the families, and that's called punishment. It is what it is. You know, if you do crap, stop putting it on social media. It's, it's like, there was a movie one time with, what's his name? Oh my goodness, I can see his face. Robin Williams. Thank you, Robin. Robin Williams was in a movie one time, and he said, and this always stuck with me, it's just like the karma credit system. You buy now, but you pay forever. And that's exactly what they have been doing. You see, you can fix karma. It's called forgiveness. You have to strive to do the right thing. This has gone on so long with all of these cases. Sandra Birchmore, only they've got a perp for Sandra, but there's more coming. Especially Enrique Delgado Garcia, bless his heart, over 90 days now, and it has been quiet. We're not hearing anything about that. But we've got Officer John O'Keefe, and it's that what I like to call the SOS system, swap out suspects, in my opinion. The feds all see this. But the funny thing, they're getting nervous because for those of you who watched JFK and his buddy the other evening where they had Kevin from South Boston call in, a Southie Kevin, what are you going to do? Two decorated people, he didn't say officers, 2 decorated people. What are you going to do when they find out possibly that Karen did this? I'm paraphrasing. And JFK calls him out. This sounds like Higgins. Well, it sure does. Now, factually, I don't know. James, that's who his name is. Thank you so much, Standing Stones. I've got so many names in my head. So sorry, JFK and James. Thank you. And if you're watching and listening, you guys cracked me up. They had a call-in show. And it sure sounded like Higgy. And I want you to know, our friend, 2 decorated dudes, that right. And Standing Stones, Standing Stones, our buddy here, you see him right here. He also mentioned Higgy to be calling in. I just thought that was hilarious. So I'm just going to say Kevin from South Boston says 2 decorated dudes You see that? Two decorated dudes. What are you going to do? Are you going to be able to turn around? And then when JFK says, "You sound like Higgins," and James is laughing and jumping in and saying, "Oh my gosh, you do." And then he starts, "You're wrong. You're wrong." And he hangs up right away. Guilty. You always return to the scene of the crime. But I got news for you, Higgy. You are so worried about things. You know, the feds don't take these officers, and especially with other agencies like DEA, CIA, ATF, they don't take it very well when they become dirty. They don't like dirty cops and law enforcement because they take matters into their own hands and they hurt people for their own benefit. Each one of those people, I said, "Higgy, call in," then he did later. Yeah. I bet if I had a call-in show right now, Higgy would be calling me. He'd be saying like, "Zelda, what do you see coming down the pike?" in his Southie accent. "What would you see coming down the pike for these people?" I know that's what it would be. There's my buddy Anthony from Ohio. Hello, Anthony. I hope you're keeping warm up there. It has been a little on the chilly willy side. Ooh. It has been here. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm in the South. And you see, people ask me where I'm from. I'm a child of the world, but I just tell them, I'm from the North, but I'm Southern by the grace of God. That's how it is. It's chilly everywhere, I think. So, trying to keep warm. Good. And Jerry says it's chilly in Florida. Yeah, I think it's chilly just about everywhere. That's why I put off a move until maybe February or March. I'm going to take you guys with me. But right now, I mean, it's like, hello. It's not the time of year to move. And I have some things that I want to take care of. So after this first of the year, little Zelda is going to hit the floor running. And the rubber's going to meet the road. And we're going to go. Because I may be going from East Tennessee, where I want to live, to Nashville, and then to Florida to do some work. I don't know. But you know what? I'm going to say this. The wonderful part of being able to work remotely. Now, I've always worked remotely. I mean, for years. Is as long as I have telephone service and internet, I could work from Taj Mahal. There we go. So, isn't that a wonder? If you would have told me 20 years ago of all the technology and what we've got going on right now and everything that's happening, I would have said that's just it almost feels like the end of the world, but it isn't, because technology, you see, we're opening our minds more. And technology, all this creativity, that's all it is. It's just all this creativity is coming out. And thanks to my buddy, Tesla, I like him, and the 369 method, and then I devised my own 17-second method. Things are going pretty good. I like it. Okay, let me see here. Let me see my darling Nancy. Welcome. Way to go, Zelda. You go, girl. She's on fire tonight. I'm telling you. singeing it all. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for being here. Anthony says it's going to be really cold next weekend. Ooh, time to build a fire and just stay at home if you can. Make some snacks. Make some snacks. I've been sitting here working on my holiday menu. And I say holiday menu because for Thanksgiving and Christmas, I used to cook for at least 30 people. And now I'm down to 2. And Christmas Day is also my son's birthday. So we have a few little goodies on Christmas Eve, and we have a few goodies on Christmas Day. And I usually just work. And it's for me, it's not work. I just like to be here and talk to people who don't have family or friends. And we always say hello and all that good stuff. And what makes the difference? What makes the difference? Right? I got to tell you a funny story. My grandfather, now, not the grandfather that you all know, not the psychic, the other grandfather that was married to my grandmother, Zelda, was a Methodist minister. He did not like, for my grandmother, who bore 16 children. Come on, Grandpa. 16 children. And of course, some of them didn't make it and so on and so forth, but that was a lot of kids. And so after church on Sunday, he did not want my grandmother to go home and work. He said it was not the Lord's. Everybody just had to sit at home on Sunday and do nothing. They weren't allowed. They did the minimum chores because they lived on a farm. They did the minimum chores. They did the minimum this. They did the minimum that. And so sometimes people would bring food over for them to eat. Well, somebody anonymously wrote to my grandfather and said, you should think about your idea of not doing anything on Sunday because you think that it is a sin to do all of these things, which is normal living on Sunday. And yet you accept for when people bring food over to your house, and you accept when this and this. So it kind of called him out a little bit, and he kind of relaxed. So I thought that was kind of funny. There's always room for improvement and always room to open up your mindset, right? Okay, so let me see here. There's a cryptic message here from Karen. When I first caught wind of Karen Reed, Doc Aiden made reference about a WT between Meatball and Tully while they were in Vegas at a conference. I kind of know what you're talking about. Yeah. That they were, a little bit. Yeah. I've heard that too. I came into the Karen Reed trial. I'm seriously now. I missed all the pre-trials. I missed everything. I saw it a few times, when they would have these highlights on YouTube, when you go on and you click on whatever, and it would say cop killer and what all this nasty, nasty stuff. And then it would basically, I didn't like that because I didn't feel that. You could look at her. I didn't feel that. And then all of a sudden I thought, I'm going to see what all this hype is about. And I came in at about day 9 or 10, I think, right around in there of testimony. And I thought, you got to be kidding me. These people are lying through their teeth. What is this? And, it was one of these things you just couldn't go backward. We were all engrossed and glued to the TV, I think, for days. Daily, we were all watching the trial, wondering. And of course, we all know that our buddy, Lallygag, lollygagging, was dragging it out. Why? In my opinion, I'll tell you why I believe that he was dragging it out. Are you ready? Because the jury in Massachusetts is not allowed to ask for testimonies. They're not allowed to see any evidence. They're not allowed to ask for any of that. I think he was lulling them to sleep with all this. And when you were at the waterfall, where did you sit, at the bar or did you sit at a high top table? Who the flip gives a rat's hiney, right? Who cares, Lolly? Get to the meat and potatoes. They always go around. They take the scenic route to get straight to a shot. And you know, the funny thing, they act as though they know Karen is on trial, but they act as though they have to protect these witnesses, as in Haas Long. And let me see. Yeah. Oh, Nancy. That's right. Run over after this to Microdot's channel. I forgot. I was actually going to bring that up for you so you could all see that. And I did not get Microdot's Richie's permission because I don't like to show other people's channels without their permission. And I didn't get it. And Richie, if you are in here and if you want to give me permission, I'll show that, because he does this wonderful voice analysis between Kevin from South Boston and Higgy Baby. Now, the one thing about Higgy Baby that I want to remind you of, and that is this. He constantly has this deer in the headlight look. This, like, I didn't do anything. Look, I'm going to also tell you what I believe it is. The man has PTSD so bad from that night, in my opinion. I'm not a doctor and I'm not diagnosing him, but he's got that so bad that he can't function. Think about it. That's why he couldn't wait to call in to JFK's and James' show and say that, because his hands are tied. He can't do anything. He feels like he can't do anything. That's right. Anthony said, and I saw where Anthony listened to the trials at work. I did too. I mean, I had to get to the point where I had to clean my bathrooms because they were starting to look like crime scenes because I wasn't doing anything. I had to watch the trials. So I was listening and functioning and doing other things. And I just didn't want to stop. I mean, it was just like we were just glued. And thank God for attorney Melanie Little. That's how I found her, was with Karen Reed and her commentary on that. And Emily Baker, but Melanie Little, I love how she just gives us this real, understands that we are lay people, we don't understand the law, and how she and the father of footnotes, attorney Mark Betterow, and the Betterow letters will come on and explain everything to us. And I got to tell you, if this case doesn't scare the heck out of you, it should. Because in my opinion, I feel that Karen is innocent from the cards. Listen, if I felt otherwise, I don't lie when the cards tell me. I will tell you. And I think everybody knows that about me by now. I would just tell you, oh no, you're full of the brown stuff. And I would say, hello. She's guilty, is what I would say.
What?
That's right. I would say, if I saw it, she was guilty. Here we go again.
What?
That's right. But I don't think that she is. The cards would show it. And I've just got to say, this is a very hard thing for a lot of them. And I also feel that a lot of them have signed up with some big production agencies that they're all keeping their mouths shut. But these documentary series agencies and program streamers are going to have the wrong info. What are they going to do? That's right. What are they going to do? Now, hold on, hold the phone. Standing Stones, thank you for your generosity. Merry Christmas, Miss Zelda, aka Card Mama. You know what? Bless you. And thank you so, so much. I appreciate you so much. Here we go. Thank you, Standing Stones. You got me. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very kind and very generous of you, Standing Stones. Yeah, and this is where Anthony says he was even watching the trial at work. I don't know what you do, Anthony, but I can tell you what. I was slacking watching this trial. And it's kind of funny because Thursday was my mother's birthday. She's no longer here, so I'll remember that. But Thursday, I was sitting here and my son came out to tell me something. And I said, well, I can't do that right now because Karen Reed has a Daubert hearing. And he just starts grinning. He said, Mom, you can't help it. You can't help it. It's like this is almost addictive because we know what's coming and we're all here for it. And listen, I think I wish Microdots Richie would sell popcorn, with a particular label on it, like, I was acquitted, or Karen Reed is innocent, or I am framed. I mean, I don't think that's possible, but wouldn't that be a hoot? I think for a fundraiser, selling popcorn would be a hoot. There we go. So, yes, I got it, Karen. I got it. I believe you're right, my darling. I believe that there's been some listening in. We're going to say that. There's been some listening in. There we are. So Diane says, has Morrissey picked Hank Brennan? His successor of DA, is Morrissey grooming him? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that this was his choice because he felt that it would make him look good. And nobody else in the office wanted to. So there we are. So I just think that's just the way it is. I think that he had a hard time. Pardon me. I think he just had a hard time finding somebody, and Hanky Panky raised his hand. But I think there is a hidden agenda behind that as well. So, Sherry, hey, Lady Zelda, need some positive energy. So much negativity with Karen Reed community today. Like, I seriously need some uplifting. Well, I'm going to tell you something, my darling. Karen is innocent. And I want you to know that, yes, that whole hearing, the Daubert, or Daubert, however you want to say it, hearing on Thursday was a little heavy. Nobody expected this. And now we've got to carry it over again. Two things are working in Karen's favor. First of all, that was during the end of this Mercury retrograde, where things are brought to the surface, and this can of worms is open. We saw exactly what the CW was going to do. We saw exactly how they were going to try to, that's all they got. This is a fishing expedition. So, oh no, my darling, let's be happy. Because look, I'm sure that Dr. Russell was advised that it was going to be a little difficult, but look, these people are fighters. They don't fold. Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you this. If Attorney Robert Alessi thought that she was even remotely guilty or would even be remotely found guilty, he wouldn't do this. For a lawyer to step in and do this pro bono for the community without pay, that's huge. And he is so professional. I mean, my goodness, he just made them look like they were turds. So we've got a lot to look forward to. We really do. And there's going to be some more things coming out. Absolutely. Standing Stones is, my darling, there is no accountability in this state. That is so sad. But there will be. There will be. I feel like Richie would be okay with it. He's been in your channel. He liked your. You know, I love Richie. I love him. He's so wonderful. Okay. You talked me into it. Give me a second. I'm going to find it. You talked me into it. Here we are. We're going to find out where this is because I think it's just so important. Here we go. And then I'll share it with you because you guys will laugh. And Richie, if you're out there, my darling, let me see what is the latest. Pardon me. I just saw it the other day. I can't find it. Maybe I can find it on Twitter. Maybe. Give me a second. Let me see here. Let me see what I do for love. I can't help it. What I do for love. Oh, here it is on. Now let me see if I can get this on my, because I'm on a, I'm not on X. Let me see how I can do this. Let me see. Let me see. I'm getting there. Hey, I'm getting there. I promise. Okay, so here we go. Richie, if you're out there, my darling, please forgive me, but I do want to share this because I just think it's so hilarious. Thank you so much. All right, here we go, my darlings. If you're listening in, now is the time to come to the screen because we are going to be seeing this. And hold on. I'm going to make it bigger. I'm going to do everything I can to make this look great. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but here we
Can you look at this from both sides?
Okay, hold on.
Hey, man, what's up, guys? Kevin from South Boston.
What's up, Kevin from Southie? What's happening?
Listen, I appreciate the things that you two do, you and James, right? But let me ask you something. Those two dudes that you're accusing, right? They're decorated dudes. What happens? Like, can you look at this from both sides? And this comes out that she actually did it. Are you ready to, like, you know, put it out there that you were wrong?
You sound like Higgins, bro.
You wrong.
Is it Higgins?
You wrong.
You wrong.
You're Higgins.
Kevin Albert.
Kevin from South Boston.
Kevin Albert.
Kevin from South Boston.
Kevin. Boston Police.
South Boston.
Boston Police.
South Boston.
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 Boston. Boston. Boston.
Put it out there.
I have a house there.
Put it out there.
I have a house there.
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 You
Yo,
wrong?
Absolutely not correct. That's wrong.
You wrong?
Absolutely not correct. That's wrong.
Wrong?
Wrong.
Wrong?
Wrong.
That, my friends, is a catastrophe for Higgy Baby. That is is that just not that? Yeah, that's Higgy. That's Higgy as far as I'm concerned. That's Higgy. That is it. That's my opinion. That's Higgy. I love it. Yeah, yeah, that's Higgy. So isn't that funny? And of course, Richie jumps right in there, gives us all this. So thanks, Richie. And if you want to see more from Microdots, Richie, go on over. He's on X, he's on Facebook, he's on YouTube. And I'll tell you what, he's got great info in his Patreon. And sometimes he posts things that we normally wouldn't see. There you go. Anthony P., 2 decorated dudes. I'll tell you what he means. Because there have been times throughout Higgy's career and Uncle Brian's career that they have received awards. Like, I'll just tell you, with Higgy, he was basically in a pew out with some perpetrator, some criminal fellow, and Higgy took him out. He saved somebody's life. They were in this big something or other, and so he got an accolade for that. And then Uncle Brian has received a few things throughout his career. So he wants to act as though that these two are decorated. What? They didn't receive Purple Hearts. It don't count. I don't know what decorations, what Christmas tree decorations. It doesn't count. Not when you use it in this way, my darlings. No, it don't. So, Auntie Bibi, everything Microdots does is awesome, in my honest opinion. In my honest opinion, you are also correct. I love that. Yes. Lynette, hello. He has 2 contenders, a man and a woman, who have already stated publicly that they can plan to run against him in the next election. Think they said it was 2026. Well, I'm going to tell you what, he may be out before then. Because I got to tell you this, between the Bettero letters, now here's the thing. It's not only the defense team on Karen Reed. It is also the defense team for Doc Aiden, aka Turtle Boy. And just so you all know, I will be sending you over to Turtle Boy after we get done here talking and laughing and having a good time. I'm going to send you right over there. So that way we can sit around and go tick, tick, boom. That's right. So that is exactly. So when that time comes up, I'll give you a little heads up and we'll be able to go right over there. And that will be a lot of fun. So if you haven't already, please do me a favor and hit the like button. Now, for all of you, please, in the chat, we have people around the world who visit this stream, and I say our stream because it's our community. They visit us after dark and for Sunday morning for their little breakfast. So let's just take a minute and say hello to all of those around the world. Welcome, welcome. I should have done this a long time ago. Sorry, after an hour. Thank you for being here. We love you. We appreciate you being here. And we just love that you're a part of our community. So thank you. And hello to everyone around the world. And Merry Christmas to you as well. So there we go. So Liz says, my Christmas tree is more decorated than they are. Good one. Good one, Liz. Standing Stones Microdots is an artist. He certainly is. He is adorable. He really is. Talent. Talent. Microdot should be doing his craft professionally. He is so talented. I mean, maybe, probably is. But, you know, he is extremely talented. And I'm just very grateful to know him and to be in his channel and him in mine. And it's very nice. So, and then Karen says, Richie, thank you for all you do. You have a brilliant mind. Much love from Alberta, Canada. Thank you so much, because I love that. I love that. So yes, he is extremely talented. And thank you and welcome all the way from Alberta, Canada. I used to go to Banff. And I'll tell you what, it would scare me so bad, because I lived in north of Spokane, Washington, which was in Elk, ELK, Washington, which was about, I don't know, an hour north of Spokane, and there was just nothing around. And it was closer for us to go to the Canadian border, which I think was a little town by the name of Newport, I think. And they had an old vintage theater, and we would go there, my husband and I at the time, we would go there and watch movies. I think it was called the Gaslight Theater, but it was like a $1 movie theater, and you go in, you could buy all these snacks, and they would play all these brilliant old movies, like Alfred Hitchcock movies, and then they would play new movies as well. So we always spent a lot of time there. And then they had a little drive-in. Pardon me. Here we go. Here we go. Pardon me for the rudeness. It's Kitty. It's Kitty. Kitty. Then they had a little drive-through there. I got to tell you this. They had a little drive-through there. Drive-in, I think. Yeah, drive-in is what it would be. They had the best onion rings in the whole entire universe, in my opinion. And it was just like this little hamburger hot dog onion ring joint. But it was so fun because they had a game room. So my husband and I would go on the other side. Now, I mean, this was in the 80s. We would go into this little game room and we would play the Indiana Jones game. And my thing was I had to play Indiana Jones so I could hear the game say, we walk from here, because he would say that in the game. And then we would go and do these little whatever stuff we had to do in the game. One time, now remember, we're up in the middle of God's country because only God could find it, is what I would say. And we were up in the middle there. We had this beautiful ranch house. And the idea was that I was ready to take in, like, I wanted to foster some injured animals like deer, owl, that sort of thing. I had to, a background way back in the day. Agricultural way back in the day. And I had this little agreement with the forestry department. So we got this place that was out in the middle of nowhere that wouldn't bother anyone. So, whatever. So we were at this little drive-in. We were going to this movie and everything else. And all of a sudden, this man walks in and he said, listen, for anybody in here, there was a cat that had kittens underneath my porch. And he had this little bundle of fur that was just unbelievable. It was just so adorable. It was just so little, but he was so furry, gray, like this grayish yellow fur, dark gray yellow. And they said, anybody who wants, and I'm like, I'll take it, I'll take it, I'll take it, I'll take it. And we were going to a movie that night. And my husband said, what are you going to do? We're going to a movie. And I said, well, he'll fit right in my bag. He's sleeping anyway. So the drive-in place had this box. It was a little small box, about like a cigar box, even smaller. And we put a few things in there, and he was in there, and he went to the movie with us. Didn't peep, didn't say a word. I pet him the whole time. And you know what? We went home, and his little paws were so big. And I said, you know, this little fellow is going to be, oh my gosh, Zelda, I live 2.5 hours south of Banff. Oh, really? Okay. I love that, Karen. Well, this little fellow, his little, I called them hands, but his little paws were so huge. I told my husband, look, because my husband worked, he was a naval officer and also worked for the federal government at that time. And so I said, this guy's gonna be pretty big. So time went on. He became my little baby. You know, I'm the cat lady. And he started getting pretty big. And he grew up and was pretty big. And so when it came time to take him to the vet, we found out he was half bobcat. So we named him Thumper because when he would scratch or something, he would hit whatever it was, and it would just go thump, 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 thump. So we just named him Thumper. So there was little Thumper, and he lived until he was about 18 years old. Meaner, he could be really mean. But I traveled around so much that my sister ended up taking him, and he was just a good cat. He would just sit underneath her, you know, on a dining room chair, under a table, and he just sat there. That cat traveled around with us. We lived all over the place. We lived in Spokane, Washington. We lived in Newport, Rhode Island. We lived in Chesapeake, Virginia, in Jacksonville, Florida, and all points in between. And Thumper went with us. Now that's where I had my dog, Skippy. Now we got Skippy and another dog. The dog we had from him was Salty, and his name was Salty Dog, and he was a blue heeler. So Salty Dog, and then we had Skippy, who was a, I'm going to say he was a mix retriever, but he was golden. He was just so beautiful, but just such a little sweet pea. And those two would go out and they would, you know, whatever. Well, this one night, it was a Saturday night, we heard Salty and Skippy out, because we had 5 acres that were titled to us. And it was all wooded, like tall pines. It was all wooded, just beautiful. And we had a red ranch home. It was picturesque and had a white picket fence that went around it. It was just gorgeous. And the big trees, and it was just gorgeous. But I was from, you know, the Midwest. I wasn't used to what was out west. I was a Midwest girl. And holy smokes, we heard those dogs barking all night. So the next morning, we go to church, and in Deer Park, Washington. And I told my husband, I said, I'm just really weirded out about leaving them, because you could hear Salty barking in the distance. And, you know, in mountains and that kind of area, sound carries. And he said, I think they're okay. They're probably just, you know, whatever. And so that was it. We come home from church, and there is Skippy standing in the carport with Salty beside him, that he was a mess. Skippy had his left leg torn almost off. And we had a veterinarian that went to our church. And of course, we didn't have cell phones or anything. I got on the horn and said, Doc, his name was Doc Kettle. I'll never forget him. I loved him. Said, Doc, told him what happened. And he said, oh my God, bring him over. We raced. I mean, I've never ridden that fast. And bless his little heart, he was in shock. I was in the back seat with him, holding him, and he was just, you know, he was in shock, thank God. But the Doc Kettle told us what probably happened, because I didn't realize there were a lot of coyotes around that area. And a female coyote or wolf, I don't know, whatever it was, when she has to feed her young, she'll send her pups out first to play, and then she attacks them. Well, Salty must have held her off. So we got him all fixed up. He was fine. He lived. Little Skippy, he came through it, but bless his little heart. I mean, they just had to remove it from the hip, and he was torn up from stem to stern. So I kept him inside. And my husband had to go away with another one of his Navy buddies on business for a couple of nights. So he, you know, went and I was there. All of a sudden, I hear this knocking, sound like knocking, on the front door. Now, who would be out there? Nobody, because we were out in the middle of dang it. And I thought, what is going on? And all of a sudden, Salty, who was inside with us, starts howling. You know, this howling, and there's Skippy whining. And I'm thinking, oh, brother, what is going on? So I go out in the kitchen, and there was a sliding glass door. And I look out the sliding glass door. Now, I didn't open it. I didn't have to, because the sliding glass door went from the kitchen, and it went right out into the carport. There stands not only one, but 3 big wolves standing, looking inside. And they came because they could smell Skippy, and they came to get him. And I'm going to tell you, that scared me. I turned over the dining room table so they couldn't see in. I started burning cinnamon, because when you put other smells out there, it confuses them. But they'd already gotten the smell that Skippy was there, because there were still some whatever left over on the carport that I hadn't got to. Well, I'm there by myself, so I'm calling, and finally my husband answers, and I said, listen, I don't know what to do. And he said, we'll be home. So my husband and his buddy Bruce, now these are Navy guys, but my husband was a man's man. He, whatever. They brought over their what, and sat on the roof of the house while we were inside. They climbed up on the roof, and they were watching, because at this point they were dangerous. They would have hunted us down. And my husband said you could see that there was movement. They were smart enough. Now, isn't that amazing? They were smart enough to stay back in the shadows. And then that morning they left, and I ended up having to call the forest people the U.S. Department of Forestry to come out, and they actually set traps, not hurtful traps, but like traps to get them so they could move them. And evidently they did get them. But that was terrifying because my husband had been gone, and I didn't want to leave the house because I'm thinking, oh my God, what if I walked out and they would have attacked me? She had pups, evidently, and she wanted to feed them puppies. And no thanks. So as time went on, we were there, forest rangers, yes. It was actually the U.S. Department of Agriculture that we called, and then they called the Department of Forestry is who I was talking about. So then as time went on, we used to take walks through these through our 5 acres. And we would go beyond the 5 acres because there was just nothing there. No, I was like, who owns this property anyway? It just went on forever. And so, I mean, this was like a year later. Skippy was okay, whatever, but we would always leave them in the house. We wouldn't take them out with us. And so we would go on these, not hikes, but trail walks because there were trails back through there. And so my husband would always go first, I would go last, and I would hear this walking behind me. And I would tell him, I would say, somebody is walking behind me. And he'd say, oh, no, they're not. I'm like, somebody is walking behind me. I can hear them. So we would walk, and I would hear this walking, and then I would stop, and I would hear this rustling. And I thought, who on earth? Now, I'll tell you, we always carried sticks that my husband whittled a sharp end on them just in case. You just don't know because there were all kinds of things up in this forest area. So my husband, I said, you need to come back here and you need to walk with me. And he said, I'll tell you what, you keep walking. I'm going to turn around. So he walked backwards and we were holding hands like this so he could see over my shoulder. And he looked at me and he said, don't move. We're going to find another way home. We get home and he said, I don't want you to turn around. So we were like not running, but we were very hurriedly getting, and we could see the house. So we knew we were going to be okay. There was a bobcat that was following us the whole time. Now, if that bobcat would have jumped me, it would have been over because, that's just the way it was. So that was a very intense time. Now, there was another time, I got to tell you this. There was another time that my husband was away. He was a recruiter. He did other things. He was an officer in the U.S. Navy. So he was all over the place. And I held down the fort. And so this one time, and see, like I said, I'm a Midwest girl. I wasn't told, didn't think about anything. So I hear this noise out on the carport. I go to the sliding glass door once again, and there is a huge grizzly bear outside on the carport, looking around and trying to find if we have any garbage. Now, there's a saying, when it is brown, you lay down. When it is black, you fight back. And I know that to be true. And I'll tell you another little story. And so I'm sitting there because, we locked eyes. He could have very easily came through that sliding glass door. I just very easily closed, like this was going to help me. I just closed the shade, like, hello. He knew I was in there. And I took my dogs and I went in the bedroom and I shut the door and I locked the door. If he would have gotten in the house, he could have broken the door. But I think he was just there to just kind of look around. It wasn't, like on the hunt to hurt us or anything. So that was just wild. But fast forward, because I've seen it all: bear, moose, antelope, elk, you name it. And these animals are huge. And I got to tell you, these people that get out of their cars, when they see these wild in their habitat animals, thinking, what are they thinking? Fast forward years later, I have a convenience store in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So my son was little. At night, I would lock up I would take my son and do me a favor, catch your breath, take a minute, hit the like button for me and subscribe. So we would, when we were ready to close, I would go outside and lock the door. Well, I never looked to the right of me because there was like a front porch, kind of, with a railing that went around, and I had rocking chairs out there. And so we got in because I had with this convenience store, I had a pizza place. We delivered pizza. I had a video store. I had apartments. I had all kinds I had this little strip center there in Gatlinburg. And we get into my tracker. This is how long it's been. My son was little. He is about 5 or 6. And my son says, "Mom, did you not see that bear on the porch?" "What?" "Well, yeah, that bear sits there every night when we go out. I thought you just knew it." And I said, "Oh my God, no. I no." Now, the one thing about bears in Gatlinburg, and I will tell you, after the floods came up through, now I'm not there now, but when the floods hit, like Hurricane Helene, and they went up through North Carolina and they went on to Tennessee, there was a lot of flooding in Tennessee as well, and it pushed a lot of these wild animals into Gatlinburg. And they were the black bear and the deer were roaming the streets, and they were just walking around. Now, the one thing about the black bear in that area, unfortunately, they're about this much tame. They know that people give them something to eat sometimes. So they're not aggressive at all. But this bear that was at my store, so I would leave my son in the store. He would stand by the door with a phone. And I say, "Now, if something happens, you call 911 and you make sure you do not come outside." So I would go outside and I would yell at this bear. I would take pans and clack together and I'd say, "You get out of here and you stay gone." Well, he'd bumble over the railing and away he'd go. And about 3 or 4 nights of this, then we never saw him again. But I had a food place there. I had pizza and sandwiches and chicken wings, and people would go outside and they would leave them in the parking. They would leave stuff in the parking lot, not thinking, and it would attract these bears. So I had to put up signs that said, "Put your food stuff away, put it on covered, put the stuff covered forevermore." So anyway, that was the bear thing. Now, there's a place called Cades Cove. And this is why it's so dangerous, because a lot of tourists, when they go through Cades Cove in Tennessee, they'll see a bear, and it's usually a mama bear with cubs, and they'll get out. Now, why would you want to do this? The last time that I saw this, there was this woman who had a passel. I'm going to just say that, a passel of kids, probably about 7 or 8 kids. And she's making them all hold hands like that's going to help. And she's getting up close to them. That one bear and I'm sitting in the car because you couldn't get through. Everybody was stopped. So people were getting out, and I'm sitting there, and you could see this woman with these kids come weaving up through. And I'm like, you got to be flipping well kidding me. And so anyway, so this mama bear, and she was big, and these black bear, they get big. This mama bear turns around and she looks at this woman, because these kids, they're kids. You can't blame them. They're excited and they're screaming and they're calling out to this bear. And it was just agitating. And that was a disaster waiting to happen. And, there's signs all over the place. Do not get out. Do not feed the bears. Do not, whatever. But people just think that, they're whatever. My darlings, this bear turns around, and she evidently thought that her cub was agitated. And this bear takes a step toward this woman, and this woman was big. They take a step toward this woman, and it wasn't to go toward the woman. It was to bring her cub back toward her, because she was nervous about her cub. This woman takes off. I don't know if you've ever seen that cartoon that was Bugs Bunny, the witch. And when the witch runs so fast, the hairpins fly out. Oh my heck. She takes off running with these kids screaming to the top of her lungs. I don't know about you. I can't handle that stuff. I just can't, especially when they're kids. If she's that dumb, pardon me, okay, go and do it. But don't take these kids. So, hi there, Lisa. Welcome. So now we're sitting there because people are taking pictures. Everybody's going slow. People just park because they want to see the bears and all this other. Okay, that's fine. That's a part of it. Fine. Enjoy the bears, but in your car. What happens is bloody lady comes out again with these kids and weaving through these cars and come. I just couldn't help myself. I get out of the car and I stand there right in front of her. And I said, no, you don't. No. You're going to have to go through me if you want to harass this bear and her cubs. You're putting these children in danger. Well, this woman decides she wants to open up her mouth and quack, 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 quack. I said, I don't care what you say to me. You can call me every name in the book. I'm telling you to turn around and put those kids back in that car before you have a disaster and before you are legally held responsible, because you are in a federal park. You are not in a city. This would be a federal law. And you're putting these kids in danger. Get your crack back in that car. Well, she decides she wants to show off a little bit because now everybody's looking. And she wants to come up to me and she wants to, whatever. And I said, look, I don't engage. I won't engage. If the kids can stay here with me, if you decide you want to go up there and get ripped to shreds, that's your business. These children don't deserve that. You need to just back off. So this went on a little bit. Finally, this man comes up. I love it. He was in this pickup truck. You could tell he was a local. He gets out and just tells her off in no uncertain terms. Just then, something happened that agitated that mama bear. And that mama bear came up over one of those cars and lunged at someone that was in the car. And of course, this lady screaming at the top of her lungs, and these kids go running back to their car. And so we all just sat there dumbfounded. And that man went to her. I don't know what he said to her, but it scared her. I'm sure this part scared her, because it's not the bear's fault. You can't hold the bear responsible. So, I mean, that's a dangerous thing. So those types of things, I'm too old for that stuff anymore. I like to look out here. If I want to look at a bear, I'll go on YouTube. Hi. I don't care about this stuff anymore. But that's dangerous to get into this. One last story. I got to tell you stories. You know how that is. I got to tell you stories. So one last story, my darlings. So my mother, and that you just heard a kitty, he was sleeping, and he was sleeping so hard he fell off of one of his little boxes. He's okay. He's not hurt. It's just a cat thing. Anyway, if you heard that noise. So my mama was very ill. Now this was in the early 1990s. She was extremely ill, and I would take her. You like that one, Haya? Get your crack back in the car. Well, I'm not one to really, say a lot of stuff, whatever. I have a few favorite words that I might pull out every now and then. But, in that type of, she was using believe me, every word in the book toward me. And I don't care. That stuff rolls off me like water off a duck's back. Whack, whack, duck. Get it? I don't. That stuff, those aren't fighting words to me. It proves stupidity is what that does, and what it did with her. Anyway, back to the story. So there's a place called Roaring Fork, and it was one of the original settlements in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and it's just gorgeous. It's a one-way little where you just drive through. It's like a little mile or two, whatever. You can stop and see the scenery, and there's some little waterfalls and picturesque things, and there's some old log cabin-ish type buildings that have been there from early 1800s that are still there, and you can get out and walk around them and whatever. So my mama wanted to get out. Well, she's ill, and it was in the fall, and I thought, okay. She wants to get out, do her good. Let's get some fresh air, whatever. Now, you know how it is when people are extremely ill. And I mean very much ill. There's a certain, I'm just going to say, scent that they have. They can't help it. Their body is changing. Their body is trying to transition. There's chemical changes in the body. And so my mom's out there, and I told her, I said, Mama, you need to stay close to me. We're not going to go very far. She couldn't hardly walk. And I said, we're just going to stand here, because she loved the mountains, and I'm not going to begrudge her of that. So I said, Mom, here we are. We hear this noise, kind of, sort of behind us, sort of, kind of. Yes, Cades Cove. I got a scary story to tell you about Cades Cove. So she goes, we're standing there, and I'm hearing this noise behind us where we came from, the path where we came from. And I said, Mama, I think we need to get you back to the car now, because I was so worried that an animal, a bear or something, would attack her, because, of that reason. She was ill. And in the wild, I mean, it is the survival of the fittest, and you don't know. I mean, how would I protect her? Hello. Oh, yes, great, spirit of all. Right. So, so we are headed back. I have to laugh now, but we came across a huge pile of doo-doo in the path where we just came from. And it had belonged to a bear. It was still steaming. I looked at mine and said, Mama, I want you to try to walk ahead. I'm going to walk behind you. And you can bet, I mean, I was looking all over the place. I would have jumped in front of her, but we made it out of there. And I told her, I said, I don't think we're going to do that again, Mom. She goes, no, I don't think so either. I can't run. And I said, no, you can't. And I certainly can't carry you on my back and run out of here. So it would be, that would be a mess. So anyway, here we go. Story time, Auntie Zelda. And you know what, my darling Nancy, I am writing a book. I have so many experiences. I just, I got to tell you, I'm hearing sirens. I got to tell you, I am so blessed to have all of these experiences. And I'll tell you what, the marriage with the Navy man didn't work out. But it worked out the way it was supposed to be. He got remarried and he's now retired and he's living in Japan and living his best life. And I'm very happy for him. And if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have had probably 2/3 of the experiences that I've had. So cheers to you. So if you're watching, which I doubt. Cades Cove. If you're not familiar with a place in Tennessee called Cades Cove, it is out of Townsend, Tennessee, outside of Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and it is 11-mile little loop that you go through. And it is a settlement where some people went back in the day, late 1700s, early 1800s, where they were still building log cabins and all of that other stuff. And there was a man by the name of John Cade. So that's why they call it Cades Cove. And I'll tell you, if you want to see some magnificent views of the mountains, I have a picture that I took, and I'll post it. I've been offered money for this picture. I'm not going to sell. But anyway, some of these, it's just stunning. And it's a one-way you drive through. And they have a little stopover. So, if you have to use the restroom or something like that, you can all do that. They have a little gift shop halfway through, whatever. And so a couple things that happened there. First of all, during this time, Sears and Roebuck came out with their first paint, house paint. So that's when Gatlinburg was a very young, I don't think it was called Gatlinburg at that time. It was very young. It was another name. And it was a rough and tumble, Wild West type place. And some of the people that came there to settle kind of went to the outskirts. Well, they would ride into Knoxville, Tennessee with the buckboard wagon, and they would pick up this paint from Sears and Roebuck, and they painted their homes. That was one of the first places in the United States that had painted homes from Sears and Roebuck. Now, of course, they're repainted and all this other stuff now, but they keep it up. So we're in Cades Cove. Now, Cades Cove, they have these two, I better hurry up. I'm talking away. They have these two churches, beautiful churches, that were built in Cades Cove because there were enough people there that they would want to worship. There were two different beliefs. I think I don't know if they were both Methodist. Well, I think one was a Methodist, one was a Baptist church. So I have a picture of that. I might just go ahead and post those one of these days. But anyway, they are so beautiful. They're like this. You think about a country church, just a little steeple, the white church, the open doors, whatever. Well, they have a cemetery outside this church, a little graveyard cemetery. Hello, where am I going to go? I'm moseying around this cemetery because it's got all these cool epitaphs and you can see, who these people were and you pray over them and, you do all this other stuff. All of a sudden I hear this singing in the church and there wasn't anybody around. It was like and it closes at dusk, I've got to tell you, because the park rangers make sure that everybody's out of there because they don't want anybody squatting through there. And so the sun's starting to go down. I mean, it was just so picturesque. The sun's starting to go down, and I look up at the church, and I saw this movement walk across the one window, and I thought, oh, there's people in there. So I'm just, didn't want to bother them. They're tourists. I'm there, whatever. I'm just standing there. All of a sudden, I hear this singing. Now, I could not pick out a hymn or anything like that. And I'm thinking, well, that's odd, because I was just like a few notes here and then nothing. And then a few notes there and then nothing. And I thought, oh, okay, we got some energy here. So I kind of mosey slowly up to the church. And the door was open. The doors remain open. And they've got wooden pews in there, and they've got an altar and, all this other. It's just very quaint and picturesque. Not very big, but it's big enough. And I walk in, and there's nobody there. And I'm like, oh. And so I say right away, I can hear your singing, and it sounds lovely. And I'm going to tell you, if you could hear quietness, most of you maybe understand this that are in the chat because you're probably empathic or, any of these sort of things. But it was quiet. I mean, there wasn't a sound. No birds, no nothing. No literal nothing. Because before I would hear cars going by and, it was getting, they were on their way to go out because it was starting to get dusk. So the sun was coming down, and you know what happens when the sun comes down, the shadows start. And it's always darker in the mountains. I mean, seriously, this time it gets dark in the mountains at about 4:00 in the afternoon, 4:30. I can't get used to it because it's dark at 5:30 in the evening. Hello. So the shadows start. And I'm thinking, okay, so I see this shadow going through the front of the church. And I'm thinking, okay, that's just the sun coming through the trees. And I turn around to go out and I hear this knocking. And I'm thinking, oh, somebody wants to get my attention. So I'm turning around and I'm like, would you like to sing a song? And you know me, I'll take any opportunity to sing. So I burst out into this hymn, not, hello, not anything like the Sistine Chapel, but I'm just singing a little bit of it. And it was just like I felt this breeze come, and it was enough to move my hair like this. And I thought, oh, we've got some energy here. So I thought, okay. I said, you know what? I have to go now, but I'll be back to visit you again. I turn around and there's another knock. No. And I thought, okay. And so as I went out, because when I go into an investigative place, if I can, if the door jamb, where you walk through a door, if the door jamb is wooden, I'll put my hand on the door jamb and get grounded. If it's the summer, I might even take my shoes off if I've got sandals on and walk a little barefoot and get grounded before I go in. So I put my hand back on the door jamb again and I walk out. And I'm like, goodbye. Thanks for visiting me. I'm so glad to be here. I'll see you again, probably sometime. As I get out, I get in my car. I walk to my car. I sit in my car. I'm fiddling around, because now I'm serious. Back there, you don't get your phone reception. You don't get phone reception. You don't get the radio unless you have satellite. Back then, I didn't have a satellite radio. And I was checking my phone to see what time it was and all this other. Pardon me. I glance up and there's somebody, just a half sort of misty kind of sort of figure standing in the door. And it was like that. I mean, it was just like, boom, quick. And I thought, oh, I got to come back here. So I go around and I had read where there was on the other side of Cades Cove, there was a cemetery where nobody visited. And I couldn't understand why. So I found it. Now, all of this I'm trying to do before the sun, because I figure, well, if it's dark, I've got headlights, I can just drive through and hello. I want to see this while I'm back here. I get out and I've got a picture of it. It is, here lies so-and-so. His life was taken by some type of colony officer or something like that. And that was on his gravestone. And this was so interesting. And then it was starting to get dark. And I thought, oh, shoot. Okay, here we go. So I get through this other way. And all of a sudden, there's a car in front of me. And they're going extremely slow. Now, at this point, it is extremely dusk. I mean, you can still see, but it's really getting dark quickly. And all of a sudden, I see from across these fields, because they have these huge fields, they have horses there. You go horseback riding, and then they have deer all over the place. It's just beautiful. But there was something running. And I mean a full out. It wasn't hey, we're out for his little Sunday jog. Oh no. This animal was like full extended to the front and doing this, like racing, running, like you would see running. And I thought, what the heck? Something is chasing that. And then all of a sudden, it just comes into view. There was a black bear chasing a deer. And that poor deer, his little eyeballs were like, and he had a big rack on him. He could probably have turned around and hurt that bear, but I'm sure he wasn't going to take a chance. That bear was big, but I've seen bigger. But that deer had his mouth open and his eyes were like this, and he was flat out racing. And that bear was bumbling along. Now, a bear cannot outrun a deer as far as distance wise. So that deer knew that. And that deer was like, I'm going to get a head start. I'm going to race. Because, a bear has a lot of weight on him. And that is like, and fur, they're hot, have a lot of weight. They can go for a little while and then they start slowing down. This bear was not slowing down. In fact, I've got a video of it. One of these days I'll get the video and y'all can see. This bear was racing through and runs right in front of our cars. And this deer, it was like he hit that road and it's almost as though he knew where he was. And he starts taking these huge, great big leaps. And he hit that forest. And there is no way that bear could have outmaneuvered that deer in that forest. That was an eventful day in Cades Cove, Tennessee. running into these animals, and gee, I even got a t-shirt. I sure did. I got a t-shirt. But running into animals and having these paranormal experiences, and I can't wait to get back there because that will be there. There's a lot of energy there. It's good energy. It's not anything you have to be, like, oh my God. But there's a lot of people, and sometimes you don't pick that stuff up. And there's people from all over the world that goes, and it's just a one-way paved road, and you go through. Now, I would go there and I would go on horseback, and that was a lot of fun. But, the horses, they're state owned, they're older, and, but it's a wonderful experience. And if you want to go and ride a horse and go through, you see a lot of things. One day, I'll tell you about the time that I was riding horses in the Grand Teton Mountains, and a little boy fell off of his horse when he was riding double with his dad. I was behind him on a great big gray Andalusian horse. Now, I don't know these guys look like work horses. And this horse, if I could have bought him, seriously, if I could have bought that horse, I would have bought that horse. That horse, his front legs seemed like they were this big around. He was huge. I had to climb up onto a fence to get onto his back. And I'm telling you, I was straddled like this. I'll tell you a little bit about it. We've got a little time. We were out, and I was experienced. My husband was not an experienced horse rider at all. I grew up around horses. We had horses, so I was experienced. And I said, look, I want to ride him. So we're starting to ride there, and the guide says, look, if we see any bear, we're going to turn around and blah, blah, blah. We're out riding. Now, we're quite a ways from the barn. We're not doing anything. There was this family. There was this, what was it? Man, mom and dad, and then they had a little boy. And the little boy was riding double with this man. And we're, plodding along here, and I'm talking to my horse, and he's, you can, when a horse will respond, you can tell by their ears when they're responding to you. Oh my heck, there's a brown bear came shooting out, and it scared the horse. They were in front of me. It scared that horse so bad that the horse went one way, and that little boy flew off that horse. And there comes that bear. And that horse that scared him so bad takes off with the dad. And there's this little boy on the ground with, he's on the ground. And, oh my God, I'm telling you, my heart, it brings tears to my eyes. It brings tears to my eyes. This little boy is standing there paralyzed in fear. I look at my husband and I holler, go get the guides. And I'm hollering at this little boy running on this was not a horse I was riding on. It was a tank. This horse, when he ran, you could feel it was like thunderous. And there's this bear, because he's scared, everybody was scared. It scared the bear that the horse took off with the dad, and they couldn't control that horse, and the dad is screaming, and he's trying to look back, and the mother, her horse takes off, and I'm on this tank, and my husband is like, oh my, and I'm like, go get a guy, go get somebody. And I'm yelling at this little boy, hold up your hand. Hold up your hand. So that I get closer, and I'm like, hold up your hands. Now we're running. And this horse is like thunderous. Ka-dum, cha-dum, cha-dum. Now, I was much younger then, just so you know, and a little bit more agile. I locked my left leg around the horn of the saddle on this horse so I wouldn't fall off. And I said, I'm yelling, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. And this little guy, you could see he was like this. And this bear was bumbling. And you know how these big bears bumble, bumble, bumble. All of a sudden, this bear comes close. This horse starts, he knew. This horse knew. He was experienced trail horse. He knew that he was going to have to take on that bear. We get up close to him. I grabbed that little boy. It's wonder didn't yank his little arm out of the socket. I yanked him so hard. And these people now are coming up on these horses and in a wagon and in a truck, and they're seeing all this happen. This little boy, bless his little heart, was such a lightweight. I thought I was just going to lift him up and oh no. I get him and he comes clear up over me. And of course I had him. And he's screaming. I could just feel his little body shaking. And I said, you need to straddle me and hold on. So he's facing me. His little chest is up here. He's holding on. I said, I don't care. Hold on to my shirt. And he's straddling me. He's sitting on my one leg. Bless his little heart. I said, I got you. Don't you worry. This bear comes up to this horse. And I can tell you a horse, and I've seen even horses with dogs. They've got powerful back legs. And this horse turns around and he was kicking this bear. And we're hanging on because I'm thinking, oh crap. If I fall off with this little boy, we're in deep doo-doo. We're in trouble at this point. We're in the middle of the Grand Teton Mountains. And these people are coming. They're not going to be here. This bear comes around. This horse, all of these noises, everything going on at once. And this horse is going, this snorting, this just so loud. You can hear him. And this little boy hanging on to me, paralyzed with fear. All of a sudden, this horse raises up and is now stomping on this bear. And you could hear this bear. He was in pain because this horse was huge and it was like a tank. Finally, this horse, and there was a truck and there were some guys that had these pew-pews, that pew-pew. They were pulling the triggers as they were coming up to scare. And you get this bear runs off. And finally, this horse was just had all this energy. He was just all this adrenaline. The dad comes up, grabs this little boy. This man says, lady, how did you stay on this horse? I said, that's a bloody miracle. I think we had an angel behind us because I don't know how I did either. Seriously, the inside of my legs were bruised from my ankles to my hips, my leg from holding on so tight. And this poor little boy, he was scratched just from falling off. My darlings, I've had an adventurous life. I've been very blessed. We got back to the barn. They literally had to peel me off of this horse because I was just like a statue. But anyway, that's the way it was. That was an experience. So I'll never forget that. That was actually, thank God, that little boy. But listen, I don't take those chances anymore. Going out on horseback with all this stuff. I ain't that young anymore. I couldn't do it. I'll tell you what, I would just probably stay behind to be a big snack for that bear because I can't do that anymore. And you know what else time it is? It's time to go see Doc Aiden. And I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. And also, my darlings, don't forget, we have that holiday special right there. Come on over and visit trueoracle.com/video readings. And I'm going to be around next week, and we're going to be talking some more. Honey, my darlings, stick around. I've got stories. So, with that being said, I want to thank you all for being here. I love you all so much. Turn up your tables, your tray tables. Buckle up, my darlings, because you're getting ready to go see Doc Aiden. And when you land over there, tell him that we came from here. He'll appreciate that. Thank you so much, my darlings. We love you. And thank you so much. I appreciate you. And you all have a wonderful night. And goodbye for now. Okay? Be careful. Sleep tight. And don't be messing with bears. See you soon.